Did you know that dancing is scientifically proven to improve health and increase longevity? This is Wellness by Design. I'm your host, Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer, and today I'm speaking with Jennifer Joy Jimenez. Jennifer is the creator behind Transcendance. It's a world-renowned conscious dancing modality recognized as one of the top 10 in the world by Global Conscious Dance Alliance and LA Yoga Magazine. Transcendence combines joyful movement and mindset for health and well-being, and it's really accessible for anyone, even if you're confined to a chair or even if you're confined to a bed. In this episode, we talk about the science behind conscious dance movement, what it's all about, some of the amazing things that Jennifer has witnessed with conscious dancing, and also the amazing improvements with Alzheimer's through conscious dancing. And Jennifer also leads us through a short transcendent experience. So make sure you don't miss that. It's so much fun and it will build your energy. All right, enjoy the episode. Jennifer Jimenez, welcome to Wellness by Design today. I'm just so happy you're here. You are so joyful. You're the joyful movement lady, and just welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate having me and being here. And I love the topic of this conversation. I love what you do. I think it's so powerful and amazing. So thanks for having me.
Oh, this is a real treat. You and I worked together before on a retreat earlier this year, and I love your message. And I met you about a year ago, and we hit it off right away because, well, for me, dance has been a huge part of my life ever since I was little. And when I was in chronic pain, I felt like it was kind of taken away from me until I realized, no, I can still dance. And it was the first movement that I could do. And you know what? Little kids, you see little kids dancing too, right? So dance has been a big part of your life. How did you get started with on this path with working like with dance as a tool?
Yeah. Well, I grew up dancing, right? Like a lot of, dancers. I was a professional modern dancer. That was my first career path. But before I started on the conscious dance journey and codifying my modality called Transcendance, I had a big pile of deep, dark, very rooted limiting beliefs and habits that kept me in struggle mode mentally, emotionally, and even physically. I would say it was taking me down a road of not being very well and healthy. So, while if you watched me on the stage, I could put my leg up to here and, twirl around and do amazing things on the dance floor, I had an excessive amount of the inner critic syndrome. I never felt thin enough, good enough, beautiful enough. I overtrained my body. I almost never listened to its cries for
Mm.
rest and rejuvenation. It was, to say the least, not fun. It was very disempowering, very painful. And I say that just so that I think it's one of the most important statistics that is heartbreaking is that over 90% of women statistically don't just dislike their bodies, but they hate their bodies. And then you add chronic pain or diagnoses to it, and then it not only do they hate the way their body looks or feels, but they feel like their body's at war with themselves, right? So there's this, I call it the disease of disembodiment, where we feel super disconnected from our bodies. So I will say it took me, some time. It didn't shift overnight, but I began to really face these disempowering beliefs, the programming that I allowed to create my reality. And I began to, it's almost like pulling weeds, one limiting belief at a time, one disempowering behavior at a time. And I really was able to successfully shift from being a body abuser and suffering from the disease of disembodiment to being a body lover, really loving, honoring, and nurturing my body and being connected in mind, body, and spirit. It took bravery. It took courage. It took rigor. But what I will say is the thing that really unlocked and unleashed and liberated me was finding conscious dance.
Mhm.
And it's so fun and it feels so good. And everybody gets to do it. Everybody's invited to the dance floor. And I have clients who practice transcendence in a hospital bed, recovering from either a disease or a surgery. When I had my knee surgery, I've had a knee reconstruction surgery on my left knee. I was told I couldn't dance for a year. But you know what? There was a lot of dance I could do because most doctors are thinking traditional dance, a lot
Right.
of twisting, the turning, and a lot of things that probably aren't good for the knee. But there was all kinds of breathing and movement and energy and music and joy that aided in my recovery. And I was 3 times faster recovered. My physical therapists were like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. My orthopedic surgeon was like, wow, like you are super strong, but still, no twisting, because you can, it takes what it takes. So there's so many amazing tools that I've discovered. And then over, the course of many years, a few different things. I had a lot of people coming to me saying, what are you doing? You're so filled with joy and grace and aliveness and freedom. I want a little bit of what you've got. So what is that thing? And can you help me experience it? And then my favorite thing is to teach transcendence and then to see the people that usually are left in the corner, that are usually left off the dance floor. These are the people that say they have 3 left feet. These are the people with 2 canes. These are the people in the power chair. These are the people that have a chronic disease or feel like they don't have the energy. And their paradigm of what dance is, or even what exercise is that as you exercise or move, you're expending energy. And therefore, you have to have it before you begin. And then you're expending it. So now you have less energy, kind of like a bank account, right?
Right.
Where on the contrary, conscious dance actually deposits more energy into the bank account. So you walk away from this experience feeling more alive, feeling more free, feeling less pain, feeling more flexible. It's amazing. So I could go on, but that's the basic premise of how I
Uh,
got here.
I love it that it took you on a path out of, you know, this mental and emotional feeling down. I love, just want to highlight, I can't remember the exact words you used, but it was clear that you took full responsibility actually from your, you weren't blaming anyone for putting these limiting beliefs in you. You took responsibility for forming them yourself, which is actually really huge. A lot of people, when they know about limiting beliefs, they're hearing about limiting beliefs, and they'll like blame someone for giving them the limiting belief, right?
Mm.
So I love that distinction, Jennifer. I know it's nothing to do with the dance, but it is really huge, taking responsibility. So I commend you for that. Um, and so dance, I love what you said there too about it gives you energy. It's not depleting the bank, the energy bank, because well, a lot of people in my audience who have chronic pain, what goes with that often is not having energy, and so I think, well, that's something I can't do. Um, but you're turning that around as something that they can do, and also that you don't have to be on your 2 feet. You don't have to be on your 2 feet to
Yeah,
dance. And
yeah,
well, dance and music go together, right? So how important is the music in terms
yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
dance and building that energy and the therapeutic side of dancing?
Yeah. Well, when I teach, I have a signature workshop I teach where I play a video of this, what appears to be a man in his maybe 80s. And it's a social dance setting where it's kind of like maybe an outdoor festival. And there's people just kind of dancing and he's walking along and he's got his canes. And then this song, da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun dun dun. You know that song. Da
Yeah.
da. So, and all of a sudden it ignites him. You can see how the music hits a chord, literally, to use that analogy consciously, right? A chord in his being, and most likely in his memory bank of a time when he was youthful and full of energy, and it ignites this joy. And he starts to move his body, just freely dancing to the song, until within 15, 20 seconds, he throws his canes.
I've seen the
Now,
video.
that's okay. We needed them to walk, but now they're inhibiting. Now he's got energy, and he's dancing, and he's doing these steps, and he grabs the top of his hair and he pulls his hair up. And you see this transformation in literally a mere 60 seconds. It's incredible. And I show that video as a demonstration that a couple of things happen. Number one, when you have the right music that ignites in you joy, it bypasses the intellect. It moves straight inside of your emotional center, right? So our right brain is the dancing, it's the singing, it's the arts, it's the music, it's this creative side of our being. There's been a study done by the New England Journal of Medicine that social dancing increases mental acuity above all other forms of movement, fitness. This was an Alzheimer's study and a dementia study. It reduces Alzheimer's by 76%. There's no drug out that can give those kinds of statistics. That's just one of many. It reduces osteoporosis. It reduces mental health issues and depression. I mean, the dance and music increases and activates our happy hormones, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. It's natural. It is one of our most powerful natural drugs. And when that occurs, what naturally happens is you reduce your pain greatly. And what I love is it doesn't have to take an hour. That was probably one of my greatest paradigms. And I really learned this when I became a new mother. And then I had 3 kids, and they were little, and I didn't have the luxury of spending hours and hours in the dance. I transitioned my career at that point. I still love to dance, but my old paradigm of what it took to be in shape or to feel good in my body completely took a 180. Rather than spend an hour doing my yoga to warm up for ballet, and then in 90 minutes in a ballet class, and then I'd take a break and then go do a modern class or a 3-hour rehearsal. I mean, my life was, 6 to 8 hours a day in the studio. I wasn't doing that anymore. And my whole body longed and craved to move. And I would say this about all of us. They talk about sitting is the new smoking, right? It's mostly because the circulation is inhibited, but we have the ability, even in a chair, like you said, or even in a bed, to move the body and move our breath and connect to this music. So music is so key to this process of really activating these happy hormones, getting the body just moving. I mean, they'll take people who are in, what do they call that? Where they're kind of like in a mental health hospital, where they're kind of in a catatonic state. They'll play music and they wake up and they're dancing. And then as soon as the music stops, they go back. It's fascinating.
Wow.
Their music lights up the brain. So part of it is knowing, just having a handful of songs that are like your jam. It's like the thing that you love, and having a few of those songs that putting them on your device, having them at the ready on your phone. And you can wake up and dance yourself over to brush your teeth, dance yourself into the shower. That was really what I learned with my kids. I would dance with them on my hip, and I'd dance, and I'd certainly embarrass them dancing down the grocery aisle. But I would always turn to them and say, I brought you into this world. If I want to dance down the grocery aisle, you're just going to have to deal with it. But what it also did for them, I think, was showed them that, mom is uninhibited. She's not self-conscious. She's not worried what other people think. We're wired to move. I have never met a human that if I were to take them back in time to be 3 or 4 years old, I've worked with a lot of people of all ages, and I worked with kids quite a bit when my kids were younger, and in a few different arenas. And Kids love to move. You cannot turn on music and they sit there and go, oh, I'm just not a dancer. It just doesn't exist. That's a learned response later in life.
Yeah.
Something happened, some sort of an incident that caused that. But we're naturally wired for movement in dance, and we have been for thousands of years. I mean, tribal times, we danced for, weddings and celebrations and crops, and we danced to grieve and to mourn the losses, and the tribes would drum. And when the warriors would come back from battle, they would dance and let the warriors scream and shake and cry and release the trauma. Imagine if we met our warriors that way, how different they might be in terms of even just being able to release the somatic trauma that they experience. So dance is just such powerful medicine.
Yeah, imagine the rates of PTSD would drop if we could do that and make that part of the culture. But we're so inhibited. But you're so right with little kids. I remember seeing my kids dance, and you'd put on some music and they would just let it go, and no inhibitions, and it's kind of sad that we lose that. um I the It's really interesting that it's the music that makes the person feel joyful, right? It's not any particular kind of music. It's like, well, what's good for you, what makes you want to move. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting. And also you mentioned some scientific studies, so that's really great to hear as well, that there's been science to show that this does have positive outcomes on health.
Mhm.
So, Jennifer, what's going on? You mentioned a few things, but in terms of the nervous system, when we are moving joyfully, what's happening there?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many things that happens. So the first thing is that there's two occurrences that they've now been able, with our modern science, to see under a microscope. And there's so many things I could go into, but these two are what are popping up for me right now. So the first is a release of a joy molecule called nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is like the fountain of youth. So when a beautiful song comes on that makes us feel good, that we have an immediate emotional reaction to, and that's a personal thing. One song for me that I love may not activate joy in you. So it's really about, number one, notice how your body, not just your brain, but your whole body and being feels around certain kinds of music. Pay attention. I'll be shopping and I have an app called Shazam. And Shazam you can just click it and it'll tell you what song is playing. And I actually will collect, because I teach obviously Transcendance and I work with a lot of music and movement. So I'm constantly listening at different restaurants, cafes, even at the mall or hotels, to music, and capturing and tracking music, because I will immediately, it's just an immediate response. It's an immediate reaction that my body, reacts. So if it ignites joy and you start to tap your toes and kind of nod your head, which is an involuntary response, right? You know that it's working. So number one, it activates nitric oxide, and that lowers it increases our immune system. It lowers cortisol. It calms the nervous system. It immediately helps us move from fight or flight to rest and digest, from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It's really, really powerful. The other is the ends of our chromosomes called telomeres. So I don't know if you're familiar with those, but when we're
Yep.
sitting too much, when we're full of stress, when we're not eating well, when we have too much toxicity, whether it's toxic thoughts, toxic people, toxicity in our environment and our food, it frays the ends of the telomeres. So when you're doing things that are deep breathing, beautiful, healthy, joyful thinking, activating music, activating movement, all the wellness activities, it actually smooths out those telomeres and you can turn back the clock. It is our natural fountain of youth. Not only that, but I mean, music and dance strengthens the bones. So there's the fast and slow twitch muscles that when you're doing intricate movements and moving your body in space is different than a static or linear movement. So dance is really one of the only movements where it's wiring the right and left hemisphere of the brain.
Yeah.
There's different formations of steps and movement that are occurring, which which creates new neuronal pathways in the brain. And then they did a study actually in Europe. And as I was coming back from Bali last year, I watched this whole thing on longevity, and it talked about the stimulation of the muscles and the bones that of all the kinds of movement that they studied for bone density and muscle retention. Dance actually scored higher than even resistance training, I was completely blown away. I was not expecting that. I'm sitting there in the plane and I'm like, oh my God, I need to study. Somebody sent it to me. I need to show this to all my clients because it was incredible.
That.
Yeah. They studied a number of different, of course, people that are aging. And then this one woman in particular who is in her 90s who had danced, and they put that against just like resistance training. And it was strikingly impressive. It was so amazing. So yeah, there's so many health benefits. I mean, mental health benefits, emotional health benefits. The other thing about, for example, I teach Transcendance online to clients from all over the world. There's this isolation factor that people have. So when we connect, when we're in community together and having this interaction, particularly around music and dance, there was a study called collective effervescence. It ignites this collective effervescence. It's like this joy factor. So those are some of the powerful benefits.
There is something different that happens when we are in community with other people. It elevates joy, and so that's really super powerful. And I love that dancing is even better than resistance training, because I love dancing way better than resistance training.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And so what is you do live as well as online, right? So what is one of the biggest transformations? Like, do you see immediate transformations, or is it more of a long-term thing? Have you seen anything kind of an immediate?
It's a both and. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite stories is a woman that came into, her name was Janet. She walked into a in-person workshop that I was teaching, holding her shoulder and just gripping it in pain. And tears welled up in her eyes. And she was just saying, I would love to come and do this workshop, but I have this locked shoulder. I've seen 15 different medical professionals, from orthopedic doctors to chiropractors to energy healers. Like, I've just tried to figure out on it. I haven't even been able to reach above my shoulder for over 9 months, and it's excruciatingly painful. And so I tell her what I tell all my students: your body knows how to heal itself. We have an inner physician within. Our bodies, our issues live in our tissues, and you have to feel it to heal it. So I said, have you done any of this kind of work before? Have you explored this? She said, no, that's why I'm here. I'd really love to. And I said, great. There's so much you can do. Focus on your breath, focus on feeling whatever rises up for you and really having an emotional somatic release. You don't force it, but just let it rise and move with whatever's there, and then move all the parts of your body that can move well. Allow yourself to really connect to the music, and don't do anything that's going to cause pain. Move towards pleasure. And there was about 100 people in the room, so I kind of lost track of her. She kind of went into the sea of people, and then we came to the end of class. And in Transcendance, it's about an hour, depends on what I'm teaching, sometimes an hour and a half. There's 10 stages that I walk you through. So one stage builds onto the other. And it really is this transcendent experience. It's a spiritual experience. It's a mind, body, spirit experience. I've had clients say it's like having a life coach, a chiropractic adjustment, a full body massage, an energy healing session, and then a meditation, all wrapped in one. And, I'll tell you a few more stories of transformations. But anyhow, this woman walks over to me at the end of class, and tears are streaming down her face. She has a huge smile on her face, and she lifts her right hand above her shoulder, and she said, it's gone. I have no pain. It's completely released. I don't know what just happened, but thank you. And, that's just one of many, many stories. People have come with, headaches or migraines released, stuck, pain in a hip that gets released. A lot of it is also a relationship with self. Right. And I think one of the greatest gifts, as I share in my story, is this just coming home that your body can be a safe place to be, that your body is wired for wellness. And there is this connection to a higher source of energy, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So just hearing those messages, being invited to give your body loving, affirmative, messages while you're moving it is so opposite to what we often hear in traditional fitness classes. So there's a lot of places I won't go into. To your point, taking responsibility. I won't go to a class if the fitness instructor is just talking about losing 10 pounds in 10 days or getting 6-pack abs and no pain, no gain, sort of push energy. It just is, I live on a different planet now. That just doesn't it's not going to be what I do ever again. And so it isn't that there isn't forms of movement that stretch me, that cause me to grow. I'll go on rigorous hikes. I do some resistance training and some body resistance work. I want to make sure I'm cardiovascularly, muscular, my bone density, but I want it to be in an honoring manner. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly checking in with my body and asking it, and not just my physical human body, if this makes sense, but we have this awareness. We, think about the mothers that are pregnant that just know that something's not right. And their doctors are telling them, you're fine. And they're like, something's wrong. It's this intuition that we all have. Yeah. We all have it. And when I was with my knee, my doctor was telling me a certain diagnosis, and I knew he was wrong. And he tried to make me just totally shun what I was saying. And I finally had to get a third opinion for somebody to actually read my MRI right, which was just shocking to me. I'm thinking, it's been all along. How did the first two people miss it? So the whole idea around this kind of movement is training that mind, body, spirit connection. So you can, and we can be the CEOs of our own wellness. And the clients I've worked with who've learned this method and bring it into the mix of all the other things they do, but sprinkle in this piece, it activates a sense of confidence, a sense of liberation, a sense of strength. And they can tap into a source of energy that's extraordinary. It isn't just this human energy that's like, oh, I need to drink my coffee to get energy, or people will turn to outside sources to feel energized. But you can access this. There's energy coming up from the earth. There's energy we access in this quantum field. It's so much more fun to swim in this sea than the old ways of living in that old paradigm, I have to say. So, yeah.
So true. So true. I love that you're talking about that, tapping into this energy field around us that is more open to us when we are feeling good and when we are feeling joyful and doing this movement. We're not agitating in a negative way, but getting it going again, right? Yeah. So we're talking a lot about this. I know your studio is behind you.
Yeah.
We don't have time to do, the full thing, but are you able to give us a little taste of?
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Okay,
sure. Let's go ahead and stand on up.
Okay.
If you can. Now, you don't have to stand. I'm going to stand just because we've been sitting and my body would love for me to stand. But if you are at home listening to this, feel free. You can also do this sitting. And I'm going to take us into one of the 10 stages of transcendence called the dance of self. Now, in the dance of self, it's all about cultivating extra flexibility, what's the word I'm looking for? Circulation of the joints and of the blood and of oxygen moving through our whole body. But what it also does is it activates the inner dancer, right? The soul self moving the human body. And I really believe this is what happened for Janet, right? Once she tapped into her own inner mover, right? Her own intuition, her own body wisdom, she unlocked that shoulder all on her own. She had the power within her all along to heal herself. She just had never been, she never gave herself permission to do it. She was giving away her power to outside of herself, and nor was there like this safe space to kind of help her unwind herself, so to speak, right? So it's this unwinding that can occur. So the first thing we want to do before I start the music is just kind of ground your energy. So feel your feet connected to the earth, not just standing on the floor, but if you were a tree, imagine you're growing roots down into the earth, your body's the trunk, and then reach your arms out wide like your arms are branches of a tree, and you're opening up to the sunlight, the breeze, the sky, the wind, all around you, which kind of expands you beyond just this room that you're in. And then together, let's take a nice deep breath, bringing the arms down and up. Breathe in, and then just kind of shake the hands down, just to kind of loosen up the body gently. Shake the shoulders out, shake the hips down, loosen up. Now, as we begin to move, we want to activate and bring to mind your inner child. That childlike, playful self that's uninhibited, not thinking about anybody watching you. You can just allow yourself to have some fun. We'll start with the head. We'll move to the shoulders, arms, and hands. We'll dance the torso, the hips, and then the legs and feet, and then we'll put it all together. I'm going to play one of my favorite songs for this. We're going to just get it going right here. So we're going to begin with the upper body. Okay. So just begin to kind of just loosen up your head side to side. Nice. Roll those shoulders. Find the beat in your own center, and then close your eyes. Let your elbows dance. Now I ask you to close your eyes so that you're not using your eyes as a cue for those of you that are watching the video. Now, for those of you listening to my voice, you don't have to worry about it. Just let your body be free. Your upper body find that beat. Now open up those hands. Reach those hands up high, touching the sky or the clouds. Smile. Put a smile on your face. It activates joy. Nice. Good. Now your torso. Yourself feel good. Nice. Now circle those hips. Let those feet be nice and wide. Kind of circle those hips around. Now kind of use all the space all around you. You can kind of hop and skip, walk and play. Just use all your space. Feel your shoulders connected to your hips. Your hands connected to your feet. The top of your head, the back of your tailbone. Nice. And just free dance. Let yourself have some fun. Let your body move any way it wants to move. Releasing tension, opening up to freedom. Now imagine you can dip your hands in sunlight, and pour some of that sunlight all the way into every cell of your body, giving you energy. So kind of scoop up the sunlight and pour it in. Scoop some of that, pour it right into your heart, right into your chest. Do that again, nice little. Now wrap one arm over your shoulder, the other arm over your shoulder. Give yourself a hug. You are loved today. Take a breath in. Ah, beautiful. And then we just shake out all the rest. We shake out all the rest. So any fear, doubt, pain, worry, frustration, just kind of shake out the body, send it to the earth. Like you're throwing it in the trash, just send it, send it, send it. And then one last deep breath as we scoop up the sunlight. Bring the hands together right in a prayer position, and you place those hands right at your heart and say, each day in every way, I am getting stronger, healthier, more vibrant, and I love myself unconditionally, just as I am. Just as I am. And here's what I know. If we would just do 5 minutes of dance, a few deep breaths, scooping up that sunlight, energizing our whole body, and 1 or 2 affirmations, that in and of itself can activate great levels of joy and aliveness. There's a lot of science now about exercise snacks, they're calling it, exercise snacks. So we just did a Transcendance exercise snack, but what I love is it wasn't just 2-dimensional, it was 3-dimensional, right? We activated our imagination, that's those neuronal pathways. We moved right and left hemispheres of the brain. We used a song that was joyful, and we worked with energy, not just body movement, but energy. So I really thank you for asking me to bring us that. That was awesome. I needed it.
Oh, that was wonderful. I loved it too. And I love the way you talked about scooping the sunshine and letting it fall over you. Like that visual is so beautiful and it feels really healing too. So Jennifer, I love that. That was fabulous. And exercise snacks so much better than food snacks.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I do notice if I have a lull of energy, chances are adding just a little bit of movement and some music is really going to uplift me. So yeah, for sure.
And another great suggestion you had there too was having a playlist, on hand. I've got one called Jane's Joy Dances playlist, and it's the songs that when I hear them, I just go, yeah, I just want to move. So that's a great suggestion as well to have that. So, what would you say? I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but if you were going to tell someone what's one little baby step they could do right now, Jennifer, today, to begin to initiate healing in their body, what would you say?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I think it goes without saying that music and dance, right? Music and dance is medicine. So what we just did, keep doing that. But since we've already really hounded that point today as our primary point, I'll add the other one is be your own best friend. I think that goes back to the 90% of women, and not just women, by the way. I don't know if I said this, but they're also finding now statistically that men also suffer from this. So, okay, so if that's really happening, then what is the conversation in our own minds? Yeah. And one of the first tips that you can start doing today is notice how you're talking to yourself and hear it, really hear it. And then notice all the times that you're not talking nicely to yourself. And just like if you were to hear that out loud, being directed towards somebody that you love, what would happen? You would become that fierce defender. You would say, do not talk to my best friend or my child or whoever it is that way. You would defend them. So you can turn that on. It literally in a second, you can become that fierce defender, that loving best friend, that inner cheerleader. And that energy is healing in and of itself, because when you are your own best friend, you're going to treat yourself that much better. You're going to feed yourself well. You're going to move yourself well. You're going to, when I was a body abuser, I was my own inner abuser, so I was not nice to myself. I am nice to myself today, and only I can do that. So taking full responsibility, making a decision, and then literally one thought at a time, pulling the weed of that inner critic, of those voices of criticism and, judgment. And immediately you plant a little seed and you just change it. If you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you hear yourself say, "Oh, you're so fat. Look at how fat you've gotten." Whatever, I'm just making it up, but that's a common one I hear from clients that I work with as a transformational coach. I'll say, "Okay, so we want to neutralize that. We don't want to judge the judge, because then that's more negativity on top of negativity. So you just neutralize it and go, oh, look at that. That's just an old voice. It's a broken record. Let me take the needle off the record and put on a new record." And then you put the new record on, and the new record is just, you could simply say, if you're not ready to say, "I love myself," because maybe you don't yet, you could just simply say, "Each day in every way, I'm learning one baby step at a time to like myself more." And then eventually you might say, "I love myself unconditionally, just as I am."
Oh, that is so beautiful, Jennifer, and so needed. I was an internal abuser for years too, and it took, I honestly believe that was part of what led to chronic condition. And it's, you just can't heal a body or a person that you don't like. And really, why should we not love ourselves? We all came here starting off loving ourselves, right? Babies don't question that they deserve love. And somewhere we just got a different message, or we interpreted things in the wrong way. And so tell a different story. And I find it helpful to think, how would I want, what would I speak to my own child that way, my daughter that way? And so that would be like, absolutely not. So, and it starts when you love yourself, it comes out of you, and that's what you get back as well. So it's really quite beautiful and follows the universal laws and everything, right? That we get out what we feel for ourselves, or we get back what we feel for ourselves. So I love that. Okay, Jennifer, this has been really wonderful. And I'm going to tell the people, if you were just listening to this, tune in on YouTube as well, so that you can see it, or my Facebook page, and you can watch and join in the dance. Jennifer, where can people find you? What's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah. Well, if you want more Transcendance, you can simply go to bti.com/dance. And the BTI stands for our institute, the Brave Thinking Institute. And I'm the director of our Health and Wellbeing Division. So bti.com/dance. And then Jane has a special code, her gift to you. It's a free class. It's a free master class. It's live, it's virtual, it's on Zoom. You can do this from your bed, from a chair, from anywhere in the world. I teach them twice a month. So if you just go to that page, and you'll find the next 2 classes, you can click one and then use coupon code free class to get it for free.
That is so sweet of you. And I have done this class. It is a lot of fun. So take advantage of it. You'll feel so good when you're doing it. Jennifer, I love your beautiful, vibrant energy and what you give out, and what you're giving the world with this gift of transcendence. So thank you so much for that, and also for being a guest on Wellness by Design.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.